looking at the quarterbacks who lost and the quarterbacks who won, it is
Mhm.
kind of interesting that the last four standing are all like legit, not just mobile quarterbacks, but dual threats, guys who could run a zone read or a quarterback power. Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. What do you think of this trend in the NFL?
I mean, that's the direction it's going. I think if you go further back, right? Let's go who are the 8 teams that were there? There's Stafford is the only quarterback. Who else?
Goff, pretty
Goff.
stationary. He didn't make it. He didn't win one freaking playoff game.
Goff.
Herbert can run a little bit, but not really a dual threat. He
Yeah.
lost. Jordan Love, not a dual threat. He lost. I'm not saying these teams lost because their quarterback couldn't run 6 to 10 times, but these guys, what's interesting about these quarterbacks is like they're not Tim Tebow. They're not runners. They just it's a part of their skill set that makes them tougher to stop.
Just makes it harder to defend, right? You have to respect their running game. It seems to be the trend. You know, the thing though about NFL, it seems like trends come and go, right? So maybe eventually they go back to more pocket passers, but it just doesn't feel like it. Feels like that day is over, where you can have a strict pocket passer, be a big threat to win the Super Bowl. But you never know, trends come and go. You definitely have to have an amazing offensive line if you're not going to have one. But the teams like the Eagles that don't have tremendous quarterbacks, like I don't consider Jalen Hurts an elite quarterback, but he is a run threat. He has a tremendous run game, and they have the best offensive line in the NFL. So it seems to be the trend, the direction that the league is going right now.
I thought it was interesting in the two snow games that you had the two teams that won kind of approached it the same way. The Eagles and the Bills. So like, we have Jalen Hurts, we have Josh Allen, doesn't matter. We're running the ball. We could have, and Josh Allen, you're a runner today. Both of those guys threw for about 120, 130 passes, very modest, really took their ego out of it and made their biggest impacts on the ground. Jalen Hurts ran for 1 touchdown. Josh Allen ran for 2. Jalen Hurts ran seven times, and Josh Allen ran 10 times. That was really smart, and it gave their offense the ability to really stick with the run in ways that the Rams couldn't, because they got Kyron Williams and that's it. They're not really built to run the ball 40 times and throw it 20 times, but the teams that won can win that way. The Niners used to be built to win that way. And I think that's why they went and drafted Trey Lance, because that was part of their identity. Now it's not anymore.
That was definitely the goal for Kyle Shanahan at the time. Obviously that didn't work out. The Eagles are an interesting team to me. I keep looking at them and talking about them because to me that's kind of the model for the 49ers. Now, Brock is mobile. He's not going to run the ball like Jalen Hurts does. But the Eagles are the complete team, right? They don't have the quarterback, the elite superstar quarterback like the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and what Jaden Daniels appears to be emerging as. But they have a tremendous defense, the best offensive line in the game. They are the complete team. And to me, that's what the 49ers model has to be moving forward with Brock Purdy as their quarterback. He's in that range to me with Jalen Hurts. Like he's in that level of quarterback. Like they don't play the same style, but neither one of them is elite. They're both good. So what do you have to do in order to get far in the playoffs with a quarterback that's good but not elite? You have to build a tremendous team around them. The Eagles are going to be a problem for the 49ers moving forward because of how good their offensive line is and how much work the 49ers need to do with their offensive line.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how the league has evolved in terms of offense. So the Shanahan offensive scheme took over, and it was just so effective for years. This year, it wasn't as effective, and none of the remaining teams are running that scheme. And I think what that scheme does so well, I mean, the shifts in the motions kind of get defenses to miscommunicate, but essentially what they want to do is play action and hit you over the middle in that 15 to 20 yard range.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you have Christian McCaffrey, you can get defenses load the box, single high safety. You can really go to work on that area of the field. And they did for a long time. I think a lot of defenses have realized, dude, just play too high, take away that play action pass, and live with the results in the run game. And I think a lot of the best teams have realized, okay, you guys are going to play 2 high safeties. We're going to run the ball a lot. And our quarterback's going to be involved. And the teams that can do that and like really, really, really commit to the running game with all 11 players on offense, hard to stop. That's kind of what Philly has. Their quarterback is decidedly mediocre. really not good. I mean, what does he do? He throws little short passes and the occasional bomb, and he runs. He doesn't throw over the middle. He doesn't throw intermediate, and they win.
Yeah.
I still think that Trey Lance could do what Jalen Hurts does on that team. I mean, stand in the middle of the pocket for 5 seconds and look at the field or run. I mean, I think a lot of quarterbacks could do that. Big guys who are strong can break tackles.
We brought up the intermediate passing. Like that's something that all these teams are doing now, right? Because of the 2 high safeties, that's what they're doing. It's dink and dunk, it's run game, or it's the deep shot. With the 49ers, they're trying to do things a little different where Brock kind of lives in that intermediate areas, particularly this year. That's why he averaged such a high, yards per throw, yards per attempt in his throwing. He targets the intermediate area, but he honestly would have done probably better had he taken more dump offs this year. Patrick Mahomes is a perfect example. When he first came into the league, he was going deep on a regular basis, and teams just said, no, not no more. We're going to back off 2 high safeties. And they're like, fine, we'll take everything up underneath. And that's what they've been doing. It's not that Patrick Mahomes can't go deep. That's what's annoying about a lot of people when they reference the yards per attempt. They're like, oh, look at this yards per attempt. That means he's the best deep ball thrower in the NFL. And no, it's not really. That's not what it is. It just means that's what he's targeting, more regularly.
And remember early in the season, or pretty much the whole season, there was that trend. Well, how come, where's the play action in the Niners offense? Why aren't they calling? They used to call play action so much, and they're great when they run. This year, they were way down. Well, if you don't have Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, defenses aren't going to freak out when you fake the handoff, and they're going to play too deep and say, yeah, Jordan Mason's really good, but we're more afraid of your receivers. So we're going to play too deep and try to take away your play action game. And it worked.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting how teams, like all of a sudden an offensive coordinator like Cliff Kingsbury looks like he's kind of in vogue. So if you're going to play too deep, then I'm going to screen you to death. I'm going to zone read, RPO you to death. And I think the Eagles do similar stuff. And that's kind of the natural counter to what defenses are doing right now.
What was interesting to me, too, is if you watch the Detroit Lions game, the 49ers versus the Lions, the last game that they played against the Lions, Kyle Shanahan came out with this game plan. And I don't know if it's because they had all these backups on the offensive line where they were like, hey, let's come out with this quick passing game that we ran with Jimmy the entire time Jimmy was here. And it was working in the beginning. They need to get back to that, especially if they're not going to have a strong offensive line where they just focus on the quick passing game in the yak, because Brock's not going to take the top off on a regular basis. The intermediate has been dangerous for him. That's where most of his interceptions come from, the middle of the field in the intermediate area. I think they need to give Brock the Jimmy G offense and just put those weapons around him. Of course, build the offense line as much as you can, but you could tell a big difference in that game. He was getting that ball out quick. I think because of the backups at the offensive line, but the reality is your starters aren't very good either. So you need to have that quick passing game even when the starters are there. I think Kyle needs to get back to that in the yak.